Okay, all right, because time is tight, and we are thrilled to have you join us for what's promised to be an enlightening and transformative explorations of the topic, artificial intelligence and digital transformations for educators in Thailand. Presented by an esteemed speaker, Mr. David Robertson, who is currently pursuing his HDR degree at Griffith University, Australia, as a faculty member at Silpakorn University International College. He is involved in design thinking and digital communications and design. His career includes close to a decade in Japan, where he was involved in English as an additional language or EAL training, later on becoming an Austrian government accredited TESOL trainers. His research focuses on motivational impediment toward artificial intelligence and digital transformations for educators in Thailand. His presentations will focus on his current HDR preparation studies related to the topic of motivations and AI in education and training. Everyone, please welcome Mr. David Robertson to the virtual stage.
Okay, so um, yeah, there are a lot of challenges right now with digital transformation and artificial intelligence in education and training. Um, the Education 4.0, which is sort of what everyone's talking about now, um, is it's aimed to equip students with the digital skills and required, but also the cognitive, social, emotional, practical, and physical skills. Uh, Basically, a combination of hard and soft skills in order to succeed in the modern education era. Um, in Southeast Asia, the impact of AI is discussed by in the Chitter et al. Article. It's actually through McKinsey Global Institute paper. The key findings are that AI adoption and digitization levels. It's occurring in industries like manufacturing, finance, transportation, and but still in education, it's still a fair way to go. Um, so let's move on. So I've got 30 slides. So the Thai labour force definitely needs, like all labour forces, needs to acquire up-to-date knowledge and skills in information and communication technology. Thailand's not it's just not Thailand. This is anywhere, even where I'm from in Australia, Japan. Uh, there are needs for the labour force to adapt to change, work more independently, as we saw during COVID, um, and just to have effective personal and interpersonal skills. This is also not just between people of the same culture, but the whole world. We're going to be working with the whole world within the next 5 years, and we're already doing it. So interpersonal skills amongst all people. Um, a survey was recently conducted with university students, and some of the key findings were poor teaching skills, unstructured content, and lack of follow-up, and technological constraints as well. I should have highlighted that. And that was done. That research was done just after the COVID pandemic, so those things sort of popped up, and so they're a bit of an issue that needs to be addressed, not just in Thailand, but really around the world. Um, the factors that are affecting technology with EFL teachers involve confidence of knowledge, their facility availability, institutional support, and engagement. Um, Engagement is very important to actually be involved, really learn to use it, and make it sort of part of your teaching and also preparation. And the use of technology does positively influence the students' learning outcomes as well. When it's been used, and that's in the study quoted by Sangkot and Boonmore Sorry if I get those wrong. And the findings did suggest that recommendations for leveraging technology for educational purposes, really just to get it more involved. And again, I've found that in all over the place. But let's just talk about culture. It plays a significant role shaping developmental processes and outcomes by affecting the individual experiences, socialization, and adaptation with um, in diverse contexts, cultural contexts as well. Um, we have to recognize and understand these influences, as they're essential for uh, gaining an understanding of the human development and addressing the developmental changes that can occur within the cultural settings. Um, the cultural awareness into interventions and approaches, such as things that have been recently talked about, like cultural competence, sensitivity, and empowerment. It's a very key point. Empowerment can enhance our ability to promote positive outcomes and address the developmental challenges in this new era of education and technology. Um, that word empowerment is going to be very important, I think. Um, the technology, a lot of the technology is foreign, and how do we empower people to use it? Okay, I'm just going to run through a couple of slides really quickly. TESOL, phenomenon, uh, very important in phenomenology. Okay, um, he's the founder of phenomenology, introduced the method of phenomenological reduction. And what it's about is encouraging individuals to suspend assumptions and focus on their immediate consciousness. So the researcher or the person looking at the subject suspend their own beliefs to understand what's actually happening uh, to the other person, to the other experience, because we all have experiences that make up who we are, and we are to really pull our experiences away to understand what's happening with the individual that we're focused on. Mindset leads to the mindset we want is to start to understand the lived experiences of others, um, and to sort of attempt to understand at a deeper level what people are actually experiencing, but not in our own consciousness, our own reality. Um, we and so a lot of this lived experience, this first person lived experience, I think is going to be very important to understand, to focus on how people use technology, and also just their impediments to it, to the negative attitude towards it, or positive attitude as well. Um, so just sorry, my computer's just paused again. Okay. Now here we have the learning culture. This Tomasello, the other, can't remember the other one. I've got the note written down. Kruger and Ratner. Hold on. Describe intersubjectivity's role in cultural learning as a process where individuals engage in perspective taking, mutual understanding during social interactions. So think of it like this. If a Chinese person is talking to a Chinese person, they're going to probably better understand each other compared to if the Chinese person was speaking to a Australian person. because in the Tomasello article, um, they identified three forms of cultural learning in human development: imitative learning, instructed learning, and collaborative learning. And put these all in for 20 years to some person, to some group of people, they're going to have a better understanding of each other than if I just turn up and start working with them. So it's it's very important to understand the cultural learning side of things as well. The level of perspective taking uh, will vary across these imitative learning, instructive learning, and collaborative learning. And that's social learning is influenced by that social environment in so many ways. That's why people will you'll just actively notice differences. If you're an Australian, the first time you go to Thailand, you'll notice people are acting differently, but you won't be able to put it maybe in words, but you'll just notice it. They've had a different upbringing, different uh, different learning throughout um, their whole life, and it's really imitative learning, instructed learning, and collaborative learning has really affected how they how they are, how they act, how they learn, how they interact with each other. Okay. Um. So let's just go across. Okay. So, but yeah, what do we have? What do we have? Okay. Um. Here in Thailand. Okay. I'm quoting a Thai researcher here, and I've only been here for maybe 2 years, so I'm not even sure myself exactly. But from a Thai person, Thailand is high context, used to communicating indirectly and using subtle cues such as tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language. Uh, Thai and foreigners can potentially uh, the communication problems. I think one that was mentioned in the article was the high and low context. It's I'm an Australian. We're much more direct. We would just rather get a quick, direct answer than a long answer. Um, but one of the problems mentioned in the article was that it's a there are communication problems. There are miscommunications. Um, Thailand can be considered a polychronic, and I actually think this is a very important point. Time is can be flexible in Thailand, and polychronic refers to the cultural approach to time, where people believe time is flexible, um, can accommodate multiple activities simultaneously, and human relationships often take precedence over strict schedules or deadlines. Uh, punctu- uh, Punctuality is not as highly emphasized as in monochronic cultures, where Australia would be. Australia is probably monochronic. We really want to know. Yeah. Okay, just make sure you do it on time. Very much like Japan, where I've lived as a kid and adult. Very different concepts of time. Um, but the that article would really address the need to address the communication challenges in order to enhance the interaction and collaboration. And when I was reading it, when I was looking at it, I was thinking this is very true. Uh, you sometimes notice that people sort of stick to their own culture group. So people from the north of Thailand might stick to people from the north of Thailand compared to the south. In Japan, Japanese people will stick together because they understand each other. It's a lot easier. So this new era of education and training this is going to have to improve. Let's just move on. See if we can do it. So, this is from an article written by Miettinen on the phenomenology of culture and cultural norms. And Miettinen argued that supports the claim of the importance of understanding cultural norms as a normative specification of the life world. How we act, how we adjust to our environment, how we communicate to our living experience. So we have to emphasize the communal character of cultural norms and their partiality. Okay, and there's another important term there: intergenerational processes of cooperation within a cultural tradition. That's going to be really hard to break because, or even how to understand, because our life experience is made up of a lot of learning, and so it's hard to sort of separate the person from that. And the organizational symbols, rituals, and stories are real critical components, and they shape how we perceive things and interpret or the organization or institution. And these are very culture specific as well. So the phenomenology of culture and cultural norms, of understanding the lived experience, is going to be very important, especially in technology, because the we have to think in terms of, it's written down there, isn't it? Mood, motivation, and action, and how we can get people to actively use them. Well, to be of good mood, good motivation, and good action to actually use it. So, I'm going to move on to something a little bit controversial. Uh, Thai people can scold me if I get it wrong. Chaya Konvikom conducted research only a couple of years ago now into enterprise resource planning. Okay, and this was basically American-made training. Okay, and it was just put on top of uh, these people who are involved in the training from Thailand. Okay, it was to integrate a broad set of organizational business processes into a computer and database system. And actually, I'll just let you know, just recently spoken to somebody who's basically doing the same thing. I'm not going to say what kind of company they're at, but it's here in Bangkok. Basically, everything in blue here, they're experiencing as well. The overall training was a failure for many reasons. Um, Inadequate reading behavior wasn't expected of the participants of the training, that they would have to read the manual before they came. No preparation. They thought that the trainer being there would be the person that gives them all the knowledge, that they needed nothing, no prior knowledge. They didn't need to read anything beforehand. They didn't ask any questions, or reluctant to ask questions. Also, nothing foundational, like understanding the whole principles and concepts behind what they were to do. They just wanted to know the immediate job need. Like, don't tell me anything else, just tell me what I have to do for my job. Lack of time, because it was expected that there would be pre-reading, okay, of the manuals and textbook. When they came and started the training, it was too much to absorb for them. And overall, just focused on a quick result. Just let me get in, do the training, let me need to know what I have to know, and let me leave. Um, I don't necessarily agree with the article, but that's what was found in the enterprise resource planning training. I should write training there, not planning. But these are probably worthy of further investigation in regards to digital transformation and AI, because this is also very new stuff. So will the same kind of issues continue? And not only here, but it could be anywhere in the world, really. I think it's absolutely possible. Um, and is it that the training is not addressing the local needs, the culture? I mean, you've got something from overseas, foreign object, trying to bring it in. Is it going to fit? It's not going to fit. I think it would be ridiculous to think it would, because it's made by people that don't understand the people that are actually doing the training. Maybe if there's a little bit better understanding of the people doing the training, things can change. It can be set differently so they can actually understand, or at least be more prepared to do it because it's suited to their culture. And in fact, I spoke to somebody, a Japanese person, about this in regards to Salesforce and the software program. Um, it's very difficult to train Japanese people how to use it because it's just not suited to how they like to do things. I'm not going to get into it here though. Don't know too much about it myself. Um, I don't. I haven't decided on my hypothesis for my thesis yet, and it's probably going to change. But I think that the impediment to digital transformation and AI amongst EFL teachers is a lack of confidence and self-ability and lack of development skills and overcommitment to the power dynamic. And that's why earlier I said I think the power dynamic is going to be very important. Um, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. And yeah, I definitely think ability and the self-developmental skills, because of that idea that people are more dependent on the teacher. I don't think in artificial intelligence and digital transformation that's going to work, because the skill base will be constantly changing. So you'll have to understand how you can self-teach yourself, self-develop. Okay, Hofstede. Um, he introduced a model with 6 dimensions of national cultures, and later on the Globe project as well, which had 9 dimensions. Nine, I think it is. Um, it's really good for understanding and comparing cultural differences. These dimensions included power distance, uncertainty, individualism. What's the other ones? Collectivism, masculinity, femininity, short-term orientation, and indulgence, restraint. Um, the model gained prominence through support from IBM in particular, a big study done with IBM, uh, and expanded through projects like the Globe project as well. It's extended the model to the 9 dimensions, focusing on leadership and organizational behavior. Um, and I think that um, it's been this has been a widely adopted framework for analyzing, understanding uh, cultural variations globally, and it was very important. We're going to discuss it a little bit later on. So with the Hofstede, and I think hopefully everyone's seen the Hofstede. I think it's called World. There's a website where you can actually see how countries rank in regards to individualism, power, long-term, short-term orientation. It's very interesting to see where countries sit and if that is correct, and if it also can be replicated at a university or an organization or company, not just a national culture. Okay. Um, Another interesting theory that I've been reading up on is the approach inhibition theory of power that posits several key propositions regarding the impact of social power on affect cognition and behavior. Elevated power is associated with increased positive emotion, decreased negative emotion, and a focus on rewards and freedom. So people with a lot of power feel better, they're less negative, okay? And they look forward to rewards and the freedom, okay? But uh, reduced power leads to more negative emotion, okay? Fear, attention to threats, worried about what the punishment they may receive for making mistakes. Um, they might um, engage in other behavior that is more about just trying to save their face more than anything. Okay, but there's a fear of actually trying to persevere. Okay, um, and be more constrained in their behavior. I think that's the right term to use. More constrained in what they do in the situation. And again, I've spoken to people about this, and the best way to describe it is if you're the factory boss, you're probably going to feel more free to say whatever you want. But if you're right there on the production line and it's your first day, you're probably going to be scared to speak up if you see something dangerous happening because you might fear losing your job, or you might fear the punishment. You may not get paid for the day or something. Um, and so the approach inhibition theory highlights the elevated social power correlates with increased positive emotion, decreased negative emotion, and influences the emotional experience. Okay, might be very interesting to look at and to see if this might be a reason that people aren't jumping into artificial intelligence. There's a fear, maybe in the power complex, that they're not powerful enough to start that initiative. Okay, let's just move on. We're getting closer and closer to what I like. Okay, the epistemological culture theory by Demaras wrote a paper about actually a little bit later on, 2002. But to start off with, the the epistemological culture theory has its roots in knowledge-based effect theory, and this refers to the emotional response stemming from changes to one's perception of an object and its impact on knowledge and certainty and predictive ability. Positive effects arise when the perception increases certainty and enhances predictive capacity. Okay. We're more certain about things and we can predict what's going to happen. It's more of a positive effect. Okay. Negative effects can uh, results from decreased certainty and undermined predictive ability. Okay. There's a close link between emotions and changes in knowledge, emphasizing individuals actively shaping experiences to reinforce shared meanings. Um, and that's what the epistemological culture theory is strongly about. Um, so let's just go straight in. So yeah, we have a positive effect when meaningfulness increases and a negative effect when it decreases. It's really culture based. Um, so after the K-BAT theory, um, Darren introduced the epistemological culture theory, micro theory, focusing on the knowledge, sorry, focusing on how individuals construct and maintain culture to enhance their sense of security. Think about it. If you're from Thailand and then you're sent to Switzerland by yourself, you're probably going to feel out of place. Um, you're probably not going to feel safe. You're going to be worried. Okay. This theory highlights the psychological processes of meaning making and pursuit of meaningfulness, emphasizing the connection between social structure and culture. Um, if we're constantly able to understand things, we feel better and more confident about ourselves. We're put in situations where we're not understanding things, it's a negative. Okay. Jeremy argues that unanticipated controversies pose threats by challenging central meanings, causing a sense of insecurity. So when we're put in situations that we don't understand, you know, it's threatening to us. Okay. So imagine somebody from 1983 suddenly turns up to 2023 and we go, okay, get on your tablet and work on these puzzles. You're not going to understand. It's going to be very threatening to them. Do I have to do this? Am I going to get punished for not understanding it? Those kind of things. So the epistemological culture theory really uh, has a. It's about um, challenging the central meanings. Okay, individuals have constructed. Okay, if they're not challenged, but they're understood by all, we're going to feel good about ourselves. If we don't understand them, we're not. So we're probably going to be hesitant in doing things. Okay. Um, if you ever watched a dog crossing a river bridge, sometimes they'll be very fearful the first time they do it. Okay. So, but if they've seen other dogs do it all the time and they start learning that pattern, then they're not going to fear it. I've seen that just recently. Okay. So, what we may do for time is um, skip this one and go straight into the epistemological culture theory. Oh no, we'll go through this. Um, Conceptual power is defined frequently stability, intensity. Okay, conceptual power is defined as that which has a high expectation for some object, okay, experience or person. Um, but it involves high expectations tied to cultural meaningfulness. Contradictions to cultural expectations lead to emotional upheaval, emotional worries. Individuals align knowledge with experiences to enhance understanding. Okay, um, they're very important, and as again we've got right there, we are motivated to manipulate our knowledge to complement our experience. Okay, um, what that means is that uh, we try to manipulate things to understand in what we understand. Okay, and if somebody comes from outside and adds their own manipulated version of the knowledge, it's probably not going to be understood by other people. Um, and what we're going to do now is just go into how epistemological culture theory is broken up: articulation, typification, and orientation. Okay, put a nice little figure there with they all frequency implies articulation, stability implies typification, impact implies orientation, and they all come together for meaningfulness of experience. Okay, so let's just go in. Don't worry if you don't. A lot of information here. Articulation is the key. Is a crucial process that enhances the meaningfulness of our experiences and beliefs. It involves actively expressing and reliving experiences through words or actions, like retelling stories, reenacting experiences, conforming to the norms we have, and expressing attitudes. Okay, and they the significance of the meaning is measured by its conceptual power. Uh, that's the meaningfulness it has within the culture group. Okay, Um, Articulation not only heightens the awareness of meanings, but also boosts the conceptual power. You know, so that's the meaningfulness of the communication. And the act of articulation is enjoyable because it clarifies the understanding, strengthens the identity, and reinforces shared frameworks with others. So it's just about increasing the meaningfulness through the experiences and beliefs that we have. Um, when knowledge is shared with others, is articulated correctly within that culture group. So if somebody comes in from outside and suddenly is trying to communicate something, if it's not meaningful to those other people, they're not going to interpret it. They're probably going to be feeling threatened by it. Okay. And don't worry if you don't get it. I don't get it yet either. Um, Typification. Um, the categorization of individuals' experiences into types plays a crucial role in understanding the world, enhancing meaningfulness. You see the image there is a pigeonhole where you put letters. Um, I like this because typification is like, well, each one of those boxes represents uh, a typification. Okay. Stable experiences have more significant and meaningful interpretation. We use typification to create a definition of the situation, identifiers we're present. So um, in that the in those boxes that we have there, um, we might start putting um, stereotypes, okay, in our communication. So let me just check real quick. So it's generalizing the patterns observed in the past. Okay, you're able to understand that experience and increase our conceptual power of it. So it might be we might involve ranking individuals in a specific order based on their perceived value or importance. Okay, and that might be related to how we conceptualize these people, or how we communicate and convey our message to them. If we're allowed to speak up, so you might have at the absolute top the CEO, okay, or um, maybe a prime minister or president, um, a big executive, okay, um, and you might stereotype how you are to present to them, uh, the communication, or the freedom you have, the power you have with them. And then down the bottom might be your children. How again the meaningfulness of the relationship to you with your children, and the communication patterns. This is what typification is, and I'm only fresh on reading up on this, so I'm still going at it. But I'm finding it. I'm leaning towards this to explain a lot in regards to artificial intelligence and digital transformation in not in education and training, in how we are stereotyping certain aspects and categories of it, like adoption, its its use to us, um, our fear of it, and things like this. So I'm just sort of getting my head around this, but I found it very interesting, um, and how it's working, and how we sort of manipulate the messages we're receiving and put them into certain categories. And that might be ease of use, difficulty in use, too hard basket, um, not for us basket, avoid this basket, those kind of things. Next one is orientation. Um, this helps us make sense of experiences by orientating them, which means connecting them to existing and significant meanings. So if you have a look, the pigeonhole is there, but they're broken up into different colored boxes: red, yellow, blue, and purple. I think that is. Um, we connect. So we connect our our experience, the sense of our experiences, to um, existing and significant meanings we already have. So if we have an experience where we're in a high important situation and we're talking to esteemed people, it might go in the red area of importance. Okay. We're connecting it to other experiences we've had with that. So what's happening is that within the culture of community is we relate experiences to other experiences we've had to reaffirm the strength of um, of the culture that we're in. Um, so we relate an experience to an established meaning. Okay, making the experience more meaningful. Okay, so the example I had here was depression. We relate that to stress. Okay, success we might relate it to money. Okay, or a reward. Okay, um, punishment we might relate to fear. Okay, so uh, if you walk up to a student and they're trying to use the technology and say, "Oh, that's silly," well, they might now put that in a fear area and avoid it at all costs. Don't try again. I'm just going to fear it, and I'll try to walk away from it. So the orientations can be more stable, but can also become more complex over time as well. So this stability is very important with typification. So we're trying to stereotype it. So we understand it in a general sense that this is always going to happen from this. And orientation, we sort of know how we know this experience because of others. So now it's a little bit more stable to us. Okay. Um, so examples of orientation everyday life, like that, relating to a new experience to a familiar one, shared cultural experience or a sense of a situation or an event, um, the connection to experience to a larger narrative or ideology. Okay. Um, specific language or communication patterns with others that have a common understanding of certain concepts or ideas. I think this is a really interesting way of putting it. And as a just starting off on my still doing the coursework for my research degree, this is starting to make a little bit of sense, but I still need to read up more on it. But I think looking at how to improve the situation for artificial intelligence and transformation, this is good. So just back to cultural learning. Okay. Um, Tomasello, Kruger, and Ratner article highlighted the different forms of cultural learning and their associated concepts of person. Okay, imitative learning, we discussed, relies on the concept of intentional agent and involves the simple perspective taking. Instructed learning relies on the concept of mental agent um, and involves coordinating perspective taking. That's the intersubjectivity. Um, so collaborative learning relies on the concept of reflective agent and integrated perspective taking. And so with Tomasello, just in brief, just suggests that we have, for integrating perspectives, we have this social cognitive representation in terms of simple perspective taking. Okay, is a precondition for a representation in terms of augmenting coordinated perspective. So the social cognitive representation in terms of the perspective taking is a necessary precondition for for alternating and coordinating perspectives. So we can get a better representation in terms of integrated perspectives. So that is so with the epistemological culture theory, I think that's what's trying to happen is we're trying to understand the experiences in a in this this representative uh, learning culture. Okay, so what am I going to do? The So the epistemological culture theory focuses on the cognitive and affective processes uh, involved in cultural production, by providing a framework for understanding the multifaceted nature of culture, motivations behind the phenomena, interplay between social culture and cultural expression. And the theory advocates for comprehensive analysis of cultural phenomena, considering both mental interests and the quest for the significance of them. And by employing uh, the dimensions of articulation, typification, and orientation uh, in cultural production, one can gain insight in our the predisposition of culture and symbols, the cultural and symbolic predispositions, how we are exposed to them, how we see them, offering a starting point to understand their perspective on AI and digital transformation in education and training. Um, so now, just going to jump into on the little bit on the constructivist side of things. Um, the constructivist paradigm, interpretivist paradigm, involves a framework for researching this human experience in technology use and learning requirements of software and phone applications. Um, well, that's what it can be used for. With Husserl's phenomenology, the theoretical perspective um, diverges from traditional approaches by focusing on the subjective experience of the individual. Okay, um, interpretivists. Let me think of the words. Think of the truth as being subjective, and it can be understood through social interactions, um, you know, which which aligns with the phenomenology research. Okay, um, and this perspective necessitates qualitative research methods as well um, to understand the human behavior and gain those insights into the reason behind actions and our experiences as people, as cultured people. Um, so I think the intentional nature of consciousness and the active role of individuals in constructing knowledge is something that has to be really studied for AI and digital transformation. Um, so let's just move on. It's a lot to take in, but we're almost there. So um, the, this is still very new. Uh, Research method proposed for this is to exploring the perspectives of VFL teachers on digital transformation. Um, I took into account the Chaya Kondicom report on ERM training. Um, and it looks like to me from my experience that is that report, what was found, we could find in EFL teachers as well. Um, and so there was a qualitative survey there for in-depth analysis. And the survey that was used by Chaya Kondicom, looked at the factors influencing the motivation to acquire skills in AI. But sorry, the uh, the uh, the survey that I intend we'll look at the motivation and skills required for the transformation, and with thematic analysis to identify the and report the patterns that we can pick up. And uh, I, that subjective experience that people have, I think, is a first step to start to understand what is actually happening. Um, so let's just so yeah, we want that detailed and nuanced account of qualitative data. We want that nuanced that and the you know we want that so we can understand what actually people are talking about, what they're saying, how they're feeling about it. I am somewhat thinking the returns in regards to organizing only a small sample, um, choosing participants who are EFL teachers, 4 from high school, 4 from a university. Um, and the difference in the level of education may be interesting to see. Uh, in Japan, they've just introduced um, tablets, tablet computers for all the high schools, but that hasn't happened in the universities because they're expecting that university students already have computers. Uh, so I think um, it could also be interesting to do it there since they've just received them, but also the teachers there are still hesitant as to what to do with them. That would be very interesting. So what I would be looking to do is work within the themes of the epistemological culture theory, um, and the interpretive thematic analysis, breaking down the data into small elements and codify and identify them. And it may and work to see how the communication is being presented, how it's being stereotyped, and what else it's being bunched in with. Is it being bunched with the office hours, the workload? Is it being bunched in with the technical problems? We could just find it that teachers are just having problems with the workload, or they're just having problems with understanding the basics of technology in the first place. Not too sure. But before we do any survey or anything, what I'd probably be doing is globe survey, which is this is a little bit of, more suitable than the in regards to organizations, institutions. Um, what it has is it has the 9 uh, cultural dimensions, the power distance. I have a feeling that power distance may play a big part, and uncertainty avoidance, um, the collective attitude, okay, gender egalitarianism. I'm not too sure that's going to play a big part in Thailand. Assertiveness, it may people may fear being assertive. Future orientation and performance orientation, and also humane orientation. Okay, um, the performance expectations that might play an interesting part. So we might just run the globe survey just to see what results we get. It's still a bit different from epistemological culture theory, but it's just to get a grounding as to what people are, how they're interpreting in the workplace, excuse me. Um, and the globe, as I said, is just a little bit more designed for organizations. Now, I haven't done any work on this questionnaire yet at all. Right? What I'm looking to do is design a qualitative survey with open-ended questions that will align with this frequency, stability, and impact, because uh, it might be a good way to a framework for analyzing how individuals, groups create and sustain the meanings and contribute to the overall cultural fabric. Okay. And as I said, I've only just started reading up on this, so I can't really answer too many questions on it yet. But just the rough idea is that it would be very helpful um, to work on a questionnaire based around these 3 dimensions. May help to put things into perspective. So we'll just finish up here. So the proposed outcome is tied to the hypotheses that, you know, just self-abilities, self-development, over commitment to the power dynamic, uh, that fear of reprisal. Okay. Um, and this should help with understanding how to bring in new products into a new market, how we are to look at the issues that surround people, and why only some technologies are picked up or only parts of some technology are picked up, which I've seen here, where they don't use the whole program or just part of it. ChatGPT, Bing AI, they won't use it for a lot of things, but just some things that they know very well, but not other things. So this might be a really good way through the epistemological culture theory to sort of start putting things into perspective, to better understand how AI and digital transformation are articulated here in Thailand or anywhere else for that matter. Um, so how we will be able to introduce them into new cultural contexts in the future. So that's what I've been working on, and hopefully everybody enjoyed that. So thank you very much for listening. Sorry for talking so much.
Thank you, Mr. David Robertson. We appreciate you giving such an interesting and interactive discussion during these sections. Mr. David Robertson, we value the expertise you have shared and the insight you have provided to enhance our event. The audience truly enjoys your discussions and your contributions have improved our understanding of the subject.
Oh,
We appreciate your time and dedications.
mm,
Now,
oh,
time questions and answers from our participants. We have 2 questions to ask you. Okay.
mm.
The first question is, what challenge do educators face in adopting AI, and how can these challenges be addressed in the Thai education system?
You know, from my from my 2 years here, I think that my main challenge is in that enterprise resource planning report, which if anybody wants, I've got my my line and my QR code there. So I'll send you the reports. Um, it was found that the preparation was a big issue. I think that here the self-learning is going to be really important, um, because even working at a university, I've noticed that students are very reliant on the teacher-student dynamic, not on the self dynamic. I think that's going to be a very important one to conquer. Um, so it's going to be how to develop training that will support ties in developing that self-learning capability. There's many people that do already have it, but I think that could be definitely one of the big ones to look at.
All right. And move to the next questions.
Okay.
How can AI contribute to the assessment and evaluations process in education, and what benefit can it bring to the overall education system in Thailand?
Okay, but artificial intelligence for assessment, absolutely not at the moment. It is the large language models that they've got with artificial intelligence are still not very accurate. The only way I can see it working at the moment is if a student didn't have any ideas, it would be a real. It's good to enter in what's being asked of them, and then to allow ChatGPT to bring this to so basically prompt. I'm not sure about what digital transformation is, and it will give back a few topics, and then go and research those in proper textbooks or academic articles or professional websites is better. Trusting artificial intelligence for that right now is would be atrocious. I'm part of a Zulip chat group of about 400 digital transformation educators and trainers around the world, and they're all getting copy and pasted in full essays, and they can tell straight away because they're full of mistakes, uh, full of non-truths and things like that. So one of the best ways would definitely be just to use it as an idea machine, but don't trust it with the information it's sent back. You know, I think Ronald Reagan said it best. Um, what was it? Trust but verify. But that's, yeah, I wouldn't trust at the moment.
Thank you for your answers. Okay,
No
next,
problem.
thank you. Before I recap to this topic, I would like you to leave your thoughts and future directions as well. Thank you.
Sorry, can you say it again?
Um, I would like you to leave your thoughts and future directions as well. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. And if anybody wants to contact me, that's, oh, I can't do it. Okay. If anybody wants to contact me about everything, just add me to line. I'll send the presentation to anybody that wants it, um, and all the notes as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, time to recap. Okay, Mr. Robertson
Okay.
starts off by mentioning digital transformations and AI and addressing the technology skills needs, such as the Thai server force needs to gain up to date skills in communications technologies, as well as be adaptable to change. Furthering in the sessions, he talked about factors that can affect teachers' use of technologies to help in teaching in Thai EFL. Classroom, including confidence and knowledge, for examples. Then he explained about Peirce's phenomenological explorations, which aim at exploring person lived experience and explore the learning cultures. He mentions Thomas's articles, which emphasize the uniquely human form of social learning and explain that it is influenced by the social environment in many ways, like local or stimulus enhancement. Moving on, he presents about the context of Thai cultures, which is high context cultures that use indirect and subtle to convey meaning, which can possibly cause communications problems when talking to foreigners. Additionally, he presents an article published by Martinent about phenomenology of cultures and cultural norms, and move on the articles from Shayagon Wickham that shows recent training examples from Thailand, such as self-preparations, reluctance to ask questions, and no interest in learning anything more than immediate job need. This theory shows the issues that is continuing right now here in Thailand. Then discuss his own hypothesis regarding the issues which he said that he has not decided as of yet. He then presented the epistemological culture theory, which hypothesized that the significance of experience depends on their frequencies, stabilities, and impact. Mr. Robertson mentions that articulation is the key process that increases the meaningfulness of our experience and belief, which involves actively expressing and reliving. This experience is unique way and typifications category the experience into type and plays a crucial role in understanding the world and improving meaningfulness. And he then presented some motivations and benefits for typifications. He also further stated that orientations can help us make sense or experience by connecting them to existing significance meaning. which will help us understand the experience better and increase our conceptual power over it. He talked about what would make the constructivist, interpretivist approach ideas for research. Thank you.